Are you recording? Or is it all happening?
Yeah, it's all happening. It's all where it's at.
Okay.
Where are you, by the way? New York, I guess.
I
You have to
am
be.
in Manhattan, staying at my best friend from high school's apartment.
Oh,
I've
that
unblurred
orb
the
is,
background and I have such a fancy behind.
I know, that orb is a little bothersome. I don't know.
Is it? Okay.
I'm bothered by it because it's kind of, it requires your, it takes your attention.
I'm gonna fix
Sort
it.
of, it feels like some there. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and where do you call home?
Well, I've lived in Brooklyn for about 16 years, but I've spent the last much of the last year or two in New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So I've been kind of back and forth, New Mexico and New York.
Okay. And do you know, speaking, well, not speaking of anything, but your one of your last, if not your prior film, the Babushkas of Chernobyl, which I was a big fan of that documentary. I'm very good friends with the editor of that film.
And who would that be?
Yeah, you had a couple, but Michael Taylor.
Michael Taylor. I spent far too many hours drinking in a bar with Michael Taylor last night.
Too many, or too many drinking, not too many with Michael, in other words.
No, Michael, yes.
Yeah, no,
Michael's the best, and
yes,
he really took Babushkas of Chernobyl to another level. And he also came in toward the end of this project, Exposure, and brought his talents to bear. Yes, he's an additional editor on this project.
You mentioned I ran into him. I ran into him at the Woodstock Film Festival a couple of weeks ago. We had like lunch with a couple of other people. Yeah, and he's always then like calling me about all the projects. You know, I should get you. You have to have these people on your podcast and those. Yeah, and I'm sure when Babushkas, because I remember specifically, he was so enthusiastic about that film, and talking about it. You really got to see it, and you got to get Holly on. I'm sure he's. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen, but I'm glad for it. I'm glad for the opportunity now to do it. So, yeah, you know. Yes, it's good to talk to you. Yeah, he's a very talented editor and a good friend. Yeah, so. Yeah, I agree, and a good friend. And how did the premiere go? You had a premiere on the 13th at DOC NYC, right? Yeah, fantastic. It was fully sold out. We actually had an ancillary. We rented another theater and filled that up because we were oversold for the oh my gosh on Saturday night. It was big fun. We had a party before and after, but most importantly, I think the film was really well received, and it was personally really gratifying to see it on the big screen. And being an Arctic film, obviously, it's quite cinematic, and there was just like some incredible drone footage captured by our cinematographer up there in the high Arctic, which is not easy to do. No, so yeah, it's not drone friendly. It is not drone friendly because first of all, you need your fingers, and it's 39 below zero, and that's rough. And then also the magnetic yes, right. So that messes with the drone. So it's just a constant battle to keep your drone in line. And but we got it. She got it. Catherine Barrows was the person who was our drone pilot. Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning the people that shot the film. My goodness. Yes. You had to be all up there dealing with such, I mean, what would draw you? What were you thinking? Yeah. I know. Well, I asked myself that. It's an environmental. Are you an environmental, or are you an environmentalist? Well, yes, but like, I mean, my philosophy around this film was this is a group of an unusual and unprecedented group of women from around the world who are ordinary women, right? Not polar explorers, who decided to come together to try to reach true north, and here's Ida. And speaking of which, of course, the high Arctic is ground zero for the climate crisis, right? The Arctic sea ice is melting.
Hey, Ida.
Hi, sorry. I had a little computer problems.
No problem.
Thank you for figuring that out, Ida. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and of course, yeah.
Hey. Go ahead, continue, Holly.
So I was just saying that I do think it is a climate film in some respect, in that the background is obviously what's happening to the Arctic sea ice, and but what we really wanted to do was it's also an adventure film, and it's also a sort of feminist manifesto at 89 degrees north, and it's all these things, and I think it's important that they live together. That's how they can be effective. I think if it was I don't think that the circumstances around the climate crisis are a mystery to anyone anymore. So it's more about galvanizing people into action. And if seeing 11 women who have never stepped foot in a polar environment somehow come together from around the world and make it to the North Pole, I won't tell you if they make it because I don't want to be a spoiler, but if that's not a metaphor for what we need to do to take on the climate crisis, I don't know what is. And we have a light touch about it, but I think it is very much the subtext of the film.
Ida, so I asked Holly this, what were you thinking?
I really loved it. When I saw it, I loved it really well.
Right. Now you're from which? You're already from Scandinavia, right?
Yeah, I'm from Sweden, but I live up in high Arctic in Svalbard.
Where that's in the north part.
Yeah, so if you have Norway, Sweden, and then the island halfway to the North Pole. So that's where I moved up.
And to jump in, Ida is unusual. We're really lucky to have her today, but she was unusual on the team to be someone who actually had Arctic experience. She's the only one besides the expedition leader. And she is, of course, the polar bear expert, because we needed somebody who knew what to do around that issue.
What goes into being a polar bear expert?
Well, in the team, maybe I was that, but of course, I think it just comes from that when I moved up to Svalbard, because there you have a lot of polar bears. So as soon as you go out from the village, you have to have a rifle. And my main job is that I guide, you have to have a rifle.
Oh, rifle.
A big rifle with a 9.6, 30-06 ammunition. So like proper big rifles.
If you shoot up in the air, does that do anything, or you have to actually?
You could do as a warning shot if you meet the bears, but I would probably use first flare guns if that would be, and try to scare it off. And if that wouldn't happen, maybe try also with the shooting in the air with a rifle. But otherwise, if it came to it, that it comes too close and actually wants to attack, then you have to shoot to kill. That's the thing. Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I do there as a living as well. Like I work as a guide, taking people out on tours in the field and the area, hiking, skiing, snowmobiling. And then you always have to have this knowledge. So we do a lot of training up there with the shooting and also learning about the polar bears and behaviors, because it is so different. And so I think that's why I became part of the team as well. And Felicity, she wanted to have someone who had more experience of the polar bear knowledge and what to do, even if she have knowledge as well. But of course, I live more in it. So that became my main responsibility for the group.
Right. Were you concerned about, obviously, safety, is in there's so many aspects and dimensions to what safety is for an expedition like that, which is across the North Pole by skis. And were you concerned? Did you kind of mentally vet? Because you were not, it was Felicity. Is that her name, Felicity?
Yeah, Felicity is expedition leader.
And were you in step together in terms of your feeling about the group, about the individuals, about?
Felicity was fully the one who chose the group and put everything together and planned everything. Absolutely. Yeah. Then, of course, she always had me as a person like, hey, could you help out with, teaching them to ski, adding certain, parts that I could support her with. And of course, if something would happen to Felicity, she had always one more person that, that could kind of take over and help out if that would be needed. But I mean, Felicity, she's amazing. I mean, she sorts everything out no matter what happens.
Holly, did Felicity have was she was when you approached her, and I assume you were connected with her, right? Like, because you maybe you had heard about this expedition.
Yeah. So I mean, our film team and the expedition team were really separate entities, separate in every way, except obviously we were in the same vicinity. I first heard about this expedition that when Felicity put out a global call for applications, and that was in 2016.
Okay.
And so when I heard about this project online, essentially, because of my background and my own interests and just the extraordinary nature of this expedition, just got in touch with her and sort of spent some time convincing her that we should do this and that I could pull it off, and that, there's lots of issues around safety and the culture of the team and all those things. I mean, she's very careful, as she should be, about letting people in, right? Whether it's to make a film about it or to be on the team or whatever, because the stakes are very high. So we spent, me and my team, the film team, we went to Iceland twice with the team on trainings, and once to Oman before the North Pole attempt even happened. So by that time we were all we knew each other pretty well, which is important when you're out there.
Well, but you also were in the desert, correct?
Correct. We were in the desert of Oman. Obviously half the team is from Middle Eastern countries, and it made perfect sense both, from a cultural standpoint to be training on that turf, but also because, as Felicity explains in the movie, what it means to train over the terrain of the moving sand dunes, where you don't really know what's going to happen next.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was hot and not cold, and we didn't have certain challenges, but, also people like Ida, I think Ida got her comeuppance in the desert, whereas she was completely in control of everything when we were in the cold weather and could be a leader. I think that the tables were turned a little bit, and in Oman, I noticed, Ida, and you can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, it's really where the team had a certain amount of conflict among themselves, but they also really came together as a team and worked out any interpersonal stuff that they needed to be firing all cylinders when they had 10 days to reach the North Pole. So that was a really interesting component of the whole. I mean, I'm interested in the sort of ecosystem of expeditions and what makes them work and what makes them fail. And I think that a lot of that played out in Oman during the endurance training, as opposed to the North Pole.
I think it is important, because also the desert part for Ida, and in the sense that it kind of shakes up your I'm not gonna say you're complacent, because you are familiar.
The thing was really heat. The heat was really what I was struggling with.
Right.
I'm not used to being any warm weather ever, almost. So I mean, the temperature really that struck me, and being active in that hot temperatures.
Well, yeah.
That it did struggle with it for sure. I mean, otherwise the snow and sand, they have a certain very actually similarity to walking, to ski. I mean, and pull a pulka in. So that was still a really cool thing to do. But I mean, here, like Holly said, it was really getting the team together and getting to know each other, where we ask questions to each other. That's where it can get frictions, but also that's where we need to get those questions out so that we can become a closer team. So
yeah, I mean, maybe for you it's personally a good thing in the sense of, like, you're already familiar with the Arctic, and maybe this kind of forces you into, rethinking and experiencing anew the kind of challenges that the majority of these women are going to confront when they finally start on their expedition, because you don't have experience in the arid heat you know, it's a very different experience for you. So maybe then you all of a sudden have an, you know, that appreciation just occurs to me. It's called Exposure, and it's going to be, it's having its world premiere, Holly, at DOC NYC.
New York premiere.
New York premiere. Where did it have its world premiere?
Chicago.
Okay, Chicago Film Festival. It's going to have its New York City premiere at DOC NYC on, well, I already had it actually, but it has a second screening Tuesday, the 16th of November at 9:50 at Cinepolis. And is anybody able to make it there in person?
Yeah, I'm going to be there and be there for the Q&A, as well as another team member named Mariam. And
Mariam, who couldn't be. Oh, I'm not going to say anything.
Yes, you don't want to, no spoilers. Mariam,
no spoilers.
There was a big incident, shall we say, in the film and in the experience that Mariam was central to, and Mariam will be there with me doing the Q&A.
Yeah, right. So as a character in the film, as a cast member, let's call her, she has you know, as much reason to be at the Q&A as anybody else would.
Absolutely.
Right? Her experience from the film.
And she's yeah, it all goes down with Mariam, as you'll find out.
He's the soul of the team.
He is the soul of the team.
Ida, have you been in a film before? Have you had any experiencing yourself on screen?
No, never before.
No? What did your family and what did your community think about that? They have them. I guess they haven't seen the film yet.
No, they haven't been able to see it yet. I mean, of course, people who knows me and things, they have been very supportive, and they have been, you know, amazing, and always want to follow the whole journey with us. And of course, as a Swedish person, and saying that you go to North Pole is not, of course, as rare as someone from maybe Qatar or Oman or Saudi Arabia. I mean, that of course is a difference. But still, I mean, and I've held a lot of lectures and about it now afterwards as well. And people love the stories and they love to hear about the adventures, and it does get inspiring to get other people out as well.
You know, I've been to Sweden.
I hadn't seen the film until Saturday night.
So. No, I hadn't.
Oh,
that was first time.
And what was your reaction to that?
I loved it.
Oh, you did?
I loved how they catched details, you know, that I'm just gonna maybe be thinking about. And also, you know, yeah, I'm really getting a good story and really showing, you know, struggles, happiness. They catch details that I maybe wouldn't thought from the beginning, but they really have. And these things, you know, really made me really happy when I saw the movie.
I've been to Sweden, by the way.
Oh yeah. Where?
Yeah. I was at the capital, and I was in
Stockholm.
Stockholm in it was in the 90s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It's just a little bit more crowded.
No, but we did travel north, but but not terribly north. But yeah, an hour or two north. We did.
Yeah, Uppsala maybe.
I don't remember exactly, but it was a long story.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, it's a, you know, I think it works on many levels, the film, and but most importantly, I think is just, you know, any story where there's a human story about endurance, about pushing yourself, and the beauty of the, you know, and we can't take it for granted, you know, most importantly. It's I try to remain positive.
Yeah.
But there is a, you know, a sad aspect to what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't been another expedition up there.
Right.
After,
well,
so, I mean, like a proper, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, this team may very well be the last expedition to ever make it to the pole, which is astounding and grim. And
yeah, I mean,
but also makes the film an important, I mean, I think it's
wake up call,
entertaining film, but it's also an important document, you know, capturing these last moments of the Arctic sea ice.
Mm. Yeah, see what's really happening with it, because you can really see that in the movie, what's going on up there. Yeah.
And Holly, I think your next film should be shot in New Mexico. It's just my personal feeling. You've done Russia and
New Mexico, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just thinking somewhere.
My family would like that.
Yeah.
My partner's always going, can't you just like, do you really have to go to Chernobyl and the North Pole? How about fracking? Just cover fracking.
There's never too many fracking documents.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm sure your take would be very original anyway. It's called Exposure, and it stars Ida Olsson in Exposure, directed by Holly Morris. It was really nice to meet you both. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope the second screening goes really well, and I'm sure you've got a few other festivals lined up, Holly. Maybe already.
We got a robust 2022 in the works. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
A lot of us.
And then I'm sure the broadcast will fall into place as well, and everything else.
Absolutely.
Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.